That's how it's
I
recorded.
brushed my hair.
Yeah. All right, are you gentlemen ready for us to start? All right. We will go ahead and call the Becker City Council special meeting of June 8th, 2021 to order. If everyone will rise and join in with the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have one item on tonight's agenda, and that is to approve plans and specs for the 2021 street improvement project and authorize staff to go out for bid. So, Mr. Knutson, you and Randy Sabar can have the podium.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Before you tonight, we do have a resolution for our 2021 street improvement projects. Those streets as called out include Sherburne Avenue South from Liberty Lane to County Road 11, Liberty Lane from the end of the Energy Drive construction to Sherburne Avenue South, and First Street on the residential side of the neighborhood from Gardner Street to Sherburne Avenue. So I don't know if you all had a chance to take a look at the plans that were sent out. They were all sent electronically because the file was so big. But we've been working on this for 6 months or so, trying to pull them together. And we're trying to, the reason for the special meeting, we're trying to get in line so we can get the bids out there and get contractor response and still get the work done yet this year. So it is a good amount of work. We're probably close to 5.5 miles of work, something like that. So with that, Randy Sabart is here. He's the brains behind all of this stuff, so I'll let him come up and talk about the project in more detail and answer any questions that you guys would have before we take a look at the resolution.
Good evening.
Welcome, Randy.
Thank you. It's been a while.
I know.
Well, maybe I should lead with, are there questions that the council might have?
We probably have very few, Randy, because our staff has been very diligent in keeping us along the whole path of it, and Bill has been here to answer questions as well. So, I mean, you know, SEH and our city staff have done a phenomenal job of keeping us on par and on task.
Well, thank you. So, you know, the project we are going to, one of the alternatives, if you would, that we're going to be bidding with the project would be some lane widening in the vicinity of Vonco. So I believe that's a detail that's been reviewed with the council. So we'll bid that as an alternate so that, one, if the pricing isn't agreeable or whatever level of participation you might be seeking with Vonco, if that doesn't work in your favor, you can proceed with just reclaiming and paving what exists today. So the alternative actually goes back to a discussion that staff have had with Vonco back, I think, around 2014. So there had been interest expressed several years ago in terms of widening and creating some additional turn lane to accommodate the truck traffic that, as we all know, is in the direction of Vonco. So that is one alternate that will be bid as part of the project. We do want to accommodate the economy of scale between the improvements at First Street as well as along Sherburne Avenue. So it's good that we're bidding that together. At least we would expect you're going to see the best possible price from a bituminous pricing. The other thing that we're certainly hoping for is of all the volatility that we've been seeing in the utilities market, the bituminous contractors have not been one of them, thankfully. So we're anticipating to still see favorable bids. So with that, I guess I'll see if there's any last questions from the council.
Isn't it typical, like on a county or state road, that the business like Vonco is responsible for those turn lanes themselves?
Certainly at the start of a subdivision, so when a development's first going in, that's an opportunity to get turn lanes or lane widening that might accommodate a specific operation. So from that perspective, it is. Oftentimes, once the road is grown up or grown older and there's other traffic on the road, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to determine, you know.
Well, the reason I ask is I know a business where it was county road, and I know a place that was forced to pay for putting in turn lanes.
Yes.
It was quite expensive for them.
Yes, and so that's still a discretionary item for the council. If you're going to, we would probably go down a slightly different path if you were to levy special assessments, where you would, force the matter. But that's still a council discretion item.
Wouldn't that be a little tougher in this case since they haven't added anything? I mean, they're the same business they were a year ago. It's not like they, added another building or increased the traffic 50% and they have a turn lane. I mean, wouldn't that be a tougher ask?
It might be a tougher ask, but I mean, you could go as far as actually collecting trip counts and actually starting to measure traffic going in and out. I mean, we believe that operations have increased over time in terms of the amount of truck traffic. So we could probably build a case that part of these improvements are because the business has been successful and receiving more traffic. But if you were to try to separate the other traffic on the road, we'd want to certainly be counting trips that are going in and out of the facility.
We did float that out to a couple of the folks at Bonco. They didn't bite on it at first, and they did pose back as a safety concern for all the traffic out there. They put it back on the city that we would probably want to do this because of all of the increased traffic and the safety element involved with that, to get them either off into a turn lane or to allow quicker traffic to go on the bypass lane. So it's kind of a little bit of a posturing.
What's your estimate of the cost of that?
Actually, we're still working on the final engineer's estimate, so I don't have that with me this evening. That'll be
Rough idea?
I think we were closer to 6.5.
No, just for that widening.
Oh, for the widening, I think we were closer to $500,000.
Just for the widening?
For the widening. There's a fair amount of lane development between.
Yeah, because there's nothing there now, yeah.
Yep.
Did we have to take any land, or would Excel have to give up some, or sell some land, or?
These plans have been sent to Aaron Briggs is one of their plant engineers here. He's got that to land rights.
Yeah.
So they're viewing that as well and starting that discussion.
The short answer is yes. We would be looking for additional dedication on both sides of the road, from the Vonco side as well as the XL side.
So would they be on both sides then? It would be one coming in from 11 and also one coming in from town?
Correct. So there would be the widening. We're trying to split the widening in the right of way so that you're not, impacting one over more negatively than the other. But the additional lane development is certainly happening on the southbound side, because we're creating left turn lanes into the Vonco facility and then a bypass lane to continue further south.
Well, the place that I'm referring to, they had no increase. The county redid the road and made them pay for the widening part of it. Mm-hmm. And it was already established.
And that's not unusual, at least in my experience, especially with additional turn lanes, right turn lanes in particular. We'll see counties looking for the development or the property to pay a cost. Now, you don't see special assessments levied by counties as much as you might at the city level, but they have the ability to do it.
Well, I don't know if they did an assessment or the people just paid it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Because one of the things that we're working with them on as well is to potentially split the project right there. We talked about that. They have two, an in and an out entrance, and if they could access all from one side or the other, so we could keep traffic to them and work on the north side, and then traffic from the north side coming south, and then work around. So we don't have to go to single lane or create that nightmare and just kind of shut that portion of it down. So to be determined.
But that is a logical break point. It's almost halfway, east and west, north and south. So it's good that they were even suggesting that idea, so that creates some flexibility for the contractor when it comes time.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts to, I don't know if we talk about that funding too much, cause we're talking more about plans and specs, but I think we should certainly have the discussion, but knowing the history, I guess, there could very well be some pushback, and any savings we could potentially make from, you know, forcing an assessment could be spent in legal fees too, so.
And they were, when I spoke with them, they weren't adamant that, you know, we would love to see that, but if we keep the roads, the speed limit on that curve in check, they felt like it's not a horrible situation currently that they're doing.
Well, I will say the drivers coming out, they appear to be cautious, because I take it every once in a while, just to take it. And quite often I'll see a truck that's coming out, they pull up and wait, they don't pull out in front of anybody.
The nice thing that we have out there is the business relationship with all of those trucking companies. We can call their dispatch and report anything, and they get out, they don't hesitate to push the safety. So we do have a really good partnership out there right now. So I would agree, Mike, that there's a lot more courtesy in our business park driving than you see in other places. That's why we're kind of dancing and posturing a little bit to keep that relationship intact. So, Brandon, can you talk about the timing of just seasonal timing, getting bids first 10 days of July, and obviously we don't want to expose roads and not finish them up for the season.
Yes, our typical paving window, if you would, in terms of when the bituminous plants are operating in good paving weather, ideally is, now June through typically mid-October is that ideal paving window. Bituminous plants tend to start shutting down that first and second week of November. And usually when we get to November, in terms of cold weather paving, we still have conditions that we can pave base course, but it's usually not the best conditions for paving the final layer. So we prefer to have warmer air temperatures for wear course paving. But I would say that typical window goes through September, and we definitely would like to see air temperatures 50 degrees and higher. So we still have a pretty good runway, if you would, in terms of conditions for them to pave. We would have the ability to stage the project. So, for example, aside from the breakpoints between the Von Co entrances, even the First Street improvements, if we had some concern about weather conditions, extending that portion of the project, for example, to be completed now or next spring. So we've got certainly some contractual time flexibility that you can work with.
Can we put it in the contract or the bid portion of it? Don't start it, you can't complete it. If we segment it or something, I mean, that's our concern. I think that's.
We don't want another County Road 8.
Well, you put that in there, then you have to put something to hold them to that. Then you're looking at a guaranteed completion date, and then they usually want more money if you're gonna do that too, though.
Well, there would be a firm contract time. I think that the trick there is taking advantage of the window that you have and not letting a contractor potentially waiting to the last minute. And that's always a risk, is if we create too large of a window, they might do other work and save yours for last. If you create too small of a window, then sometimes we don't want to bid. It's too restrictive. So it's kind of finding that best fit. But yes, we can include statements that any section that the contractor would start to reclaim, we would expect that they pave through the non-wear course, for example. And so at least we would get 2 layers of the base layer.
Yeah, and if they got the base layer on, I guess I wouldn't be too upset about that, but at least there's something on there. I guess, and I gotta believe it costs them more money if they gotta come back the next spring and finish it,
That's always a risk. Right now bituminous prices have been fortunately holding their own, but anytime there's volatility in the oil or refinery market, or a refinery goes down, there's always the potential for a spike. But yes, that's.
Even if it is in Texas, not here.
Even if it is in Texas, yeah, I'm afraid so.
As if they pump this gas down to Texas.
Energy Drive, did we do the final wear course the first year on that first portion?
No, we came back that next spring, so, and the reason for that one, at least on Energy Drive, was because we had buried utility work, so we had water main, we just wanted to make sure that
They
that
worked
trench.
into the winter on that, just getting that ready.
Yeah, they were able to continue work, if you recall, on the north leg, only because Mother Nature cooperated a little bit longer. But yeah, we held off the wear course on Energy Drive that year, in 2019.
So often, okay, so there, because we're kind of going later, I mean, we're looking for an end of the, somebody to pick up an end of the season project, basically.
Yeah, you're hitting the second window, so you could say the typical bidding windows are anywhere from January through April, for right out of the gate spring projects. And then we certainly hit a second window from July through the end of the season for contractors looking for the second half. And we've been hearing, again, it's through the grapevine, but, the paving contractors do not have full schedules, so.
It's a pretty good sized project though, isn't it?
It is, yeah, there's quite a bit of ton. Yep. So I would expect, aside from the normal Knife River and Minnesota paving, that you might even draw interest from a couple other ones, regional pavers. I could see Dunnick's from the Wilmer area, perhaps Anderson, and maybe even from the Twin Cities. So this is a sizable enough project that I think you'll garner some more interest.
Okay.
I'll maybe rephrase the question. If we were to break this up to extend, say, the wear course paving, if they can't get it done during ideal conditions and that extended into the spring of next construction season, would there be council concern with that type of an arrangement?
No, like I say, I gotta believe it's gonna cost them more if they gotta come back than if they'd have just done it. I don't wanna give them the option to bid that, knowing that they can do that and then have the price higher because they might be considering doing that. So I would like to try to get them to finish what they start.
Well, I think that can still be done, but I would guess I was curious if
I mean, if they have to, they have to,
Approximately 12, 13 weeks to get this project done. And that is a reasonable timeframe?
so if we award bids, I think we were looking at July, or opening bids July 8th, awarding it at your 20th meeting. So they'd have, assuming that if a contractor's ready to go, they can get the contracts and all of the front-end documents that we typically require, within a week is usually the quickest. 1 to 2 weeks is fairly common turnaround time. So if they were to start, let's say, August 1st, and they had all of August, September, and October, they'd have a pretty good window, especially assuming that there would be multiple crews working. So that's the other assumption that we're making, is that they could potentially be working on Liberty Lane or First Street or one section of Sherburne Avenue South. So the premise is that we would have multiple paving crews working.
Okay.
well, the other thing too, I see no harm in having a special meeting to award the bid either. If it's, rather than waiting for the next council meeting.
It's 12 days, yeah, it's 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't have a problem even coming in on a Wednesday afternoon.
Wednesday. Liar.
Just gotta go golfing early that day.
This is Thursday.
All right, so would you like to go, does council want to move forward?
Yes, I do.
Yep.
I make a motion, we approve resolution 2149, authorizing bidding for our street projects for 2021.
I'll second.
Motion from Mike, second from Robin. Any other discussion? With none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you, Randy.
Very good, thank you.
One note on that as well, we'll communicate with all of the businesses over there, and then we'll do the same thing on First Street as we get the timings and bids and stuff. So, people have asked a few questions, and we tried to slide that out there for them, and when we did Energy Drive, we pulled everybody together, had a quick go over what our plans were, what we're looking at doing. And,
Yeah, I'm concerned about them losing their access.
and it worked really well. I mean, everybody was good with that. Like I said, their dispatchers knew what was going on. We helped create maps for them and routes for them, and everybody was on board with
No,
that.
yeah, but the local in town here too, though.
So we've talked with a lot of the trucking companies over there already, they know something's coming, and they said, hey, you know, if this gets rolling, this is what we're gonna do. And I talked with a few business owners as well, that, get going, and we know what's happening and the direction council has us going. We'll communicate that with them. And again, our goal, keep your businesses open, access to your business at all times, how do we do that?
Is it worthy of an open house for anybody we haven't hit, or, I mean, obviously, we've talked to the big players, but if there's.
We can, I'm kind of a door to door and, you know, call a meeting with the big trucking companies and our business park folks, that seems to work well. And then just go up and down First Street and knock on doors and show them what we're talking about. I know the Gilliards in particular have really appreciated all the communication we put in with them, and I talked with, John and Rebecca a couple of times, and they appreciated that, how we kind of knows what's going on until we see the plans, we'll show them what's going on, so. Small town, I think that works well on this side of the tracks. Over there, having that sit down has worked really well with those businesses.
Right.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned at 5:22.
Thank you for